There's a lot to be said about this episode, but for this video I figured we would focus solely on the flashback scenes. There is so much to say about them that I feel like we would be doing the scenes a disservice otherwise. But before we get started, please leave a like and subscribe. You can always unsubscribe at a later date if you don't like what I'm posting. It's completely free. Showtime.
It's showtime, folks.
We begin this episode with a flashback to the pre-Breaking Bad era. Francesca is telling Saul off for making everyone wait outside his office. It is later revealed that one of the people he is waiting for is Kim, who was there to get his signature on their divorce papers. I find it notable how he saw no customers before her, suggesting that he wanted his waiting room to be full to capacity when she showed up for an appointment. He most likely encouraged Francesca to fill his schedule to make him look as popular as possible. He wanted Kim to see all the degenerates that Saul works with now, to see all the people who were making him rich. He wanted her to see how successful he was capable of being without her. Now, one thing I can't really work out was, is he really anxious about the meeting? Or was he just bored waiting for her to show up? This isn't Jimmy anymore, this is Saul. Saul doesn't care about Kim, Jimmy does. That's why he's in full persona mode, to protect himself. Whilst I do believe he wanted Kim to see the lobby full of people, it's also possible that he needed that hour to get his game face on. Just as sometimes he had to practice in the bathroom mirror before going into court. We have seen in previous seasons how Jimmy was often treaded on and brought down by his brother. Jimmy has been told who he is so often in life that he's just given up and tried to become that person. And now that he's become him, he's empty. I think she could tell, too. She knows him better than anyone and will probably recognise that pretending not to care is one of his coping mechanisms. It's exactly how we saw him deal with Chuck's death, bottling up his feelings and burying them deep down. The whole scene showed Saul barely making eye contact with her, and Kim seemed shaken by the way he was behaving, almost like there was something more she wanted to say but couldn't. Even in the Jean timeline, there's still some kind of feel in there. I don't think she would have answered his call otherwise, or covered for him with Cheryl. The fact that the pillar of justice fell down and almost hit Saul foreshadows how close he came to being taken down by the law in the end of Breaking Bad, and yet he was able to avoid it and escape to his new life. It can also be seen how his version of an empire is just about to begin to fall, when he is introduced to Jesse and Walt. The falling of the pillar is so layered. We can also look at the fact that it is a prop. It is light, like a movie prop, not real. It reveals his office to be more like a movie set than an actual office, just like how Saul is a character Jimmy plays rather than an actual person. Saul is as fake as the pillars that supposedly hold his office up, and just as he needs the persona to stay strong, with the appearance of Kim, his office starts falling apart. Saul and his office are one of the same. Pillars also have religious significance. There are pillars of faith, and a broken pillar is said to represent death and mortality. And what happens in this episode? The pillar falls. To pass the time, Saul throws a ball against the wall in a repetitive action. He throws it to the rhythm of a heartbeat, which encourages us to see this scene as the final nail in Jimmy's coffin. The second he begins this meeting and signs the divorce papers, the final part of Jimmy is dead. From that point on, he is full on Saul. Jimmy is on life support in this scene, and the second that ball stops bouncing, he is dead. Between the falling of the pillar and the bouncing of the ball being a failing heartbeat, this scene can safely be considered Jimmy's death scene. Pillars of fire and smoke signify the presence of God, and here Saul is sat in front of pillars. It is as though Saul sees himself as a god. He does not listen to a greater power. As far as he is concerned, he is the greater power, breaking the first commandment, "Thou shalt not have any other gods before me." Francesca also tells him, "Everyone can hear you," which shows how loud he's being. So loud that he's beginning to attract attention, foreshadowing how any day now he's going to be kidnapped by Heisenberg and taken out to the desert. Saul is everything Kim was afraid that Jimmy would become if he went too far. He is crapping on the law, which is difficult for Kim to see, because she once loved the job, She loved helping people in legal ways. Look at the open sign in the window. As if the law office is a cafe, come and go as you please, no papers necessary. It really shows his disregard for the sanctity of the law, and this no doubt hurts Kim. I know I said we would be focusing on the flashback scenes in this episode, but a moment that happened later in the episode is relevant to all this. When Gene is in the house of Stuart from The Big Bang Theory, and he is rifling through his desk, one of the things Harry brushes aside is a crucifix. We don't see this very clearly, but the closed captions tell us what it is. The pushing aside of the crucifix is the ultimate irony. He does this in order to get money, and what is printed on money? In God we trust. The reason why that is printed on the dollar is because they wanted the phrase to serve as a constant reminder that the nation's political and economic fortunes were tied to its spiritual faith. God and the court of law are also closely related, with witnesses having to swear on the Bible before testimony. Just like how we saw Saul betray the first commandment, "Thou shalt not have any other gods before me," by idolizing himself, he is betraying God twice here. He pushes him aside both figuratively and physically, in order to continue what he wants to do. Sticking to the religious theme, outside of Saul's office, Jesse comments on how he told his friend Combo that he would go to hell for stealing a baby Jesus from a nativity scene, once again making us look at Gene's action of brushing aside a crucifix to steal. Vince is telling us that Gene only has one way to go, and that's down. Saul's descent into hell has been written on the wall for a long time. I really enjoyed this scene because it depicted the two redeemed characters in the two different series. Jesse is at the beginning of his descent and Kim is at the end of hers, crawling her way out. There was a contrast between them, but I think there's also a commonality in how the two of them both have big hearts. Jesse is loud and boisterous. Kim is hard and calm, yet they both care. Watching Saul be so nonchalant with Kim in the office was rough. This must have been how Howard felt in season 4 when he tried to confess about what he did, back when Jimmy was switched off because of Chuck's death. Have a nice life, Kim. Painful words. No one can hurt you more than someone you love. He is the thing that is stopping her from having a nice life. If they had never met, she wouldn't be plagued with memories of Howard's death every day. I think, more specifically, it was a mix of him posturing himself as fine to Kim, and Jimmy's general tendency to completely disassociate when tragedy strikes. He did the same with Chuck's death and now he's doing it again. Though I do think some of it was just a put on. All that thinking beforehand wasn't for nothing. He was thinking up how to posture himself for their meeting. Her time with Saul has damaged her so much that she no longer even makes decisions, even the smallest of ones. She lets Yup decide whether or not Miracle Whip is close enough to mayonnaise. She has no opinion when it comes to the drugs jail discussion, and she doesn't even pick vanilla or strawberry cake. I'm guessing that the last time she let herself be in charge of anything was being the decision maker in the Howard scam. For 6 long years, she's been terrified to be a leader in any shape or form.
I'll pick up the cake after lunch. Do you remember what kind of ice cream Tammy likes?
Geez,
Yeah, so maybe, what do you think? Vanilla or strawberry?
no. They're both good.
I know, right?
Maybe the most fundamental conceit of Saul Goodman is that the character comes to Jimmy naturally, or even easily. All that time to think he took at the beginning of the episode was solely for that one small moment in which Kim signed a document in front of him, texting as she did it, propping his legs up on the desk, smiling, asking how she likes his office, asking about Florida, saying have a nice life, letting his waiting room crowd up, affably calling for the next client once the door opened, and Kim saw right through every beat. They were all tiny commercials, each of them, but even Jesse could see through them. Much like Chuck's, you never mattered all that much to me. It was a very meticulously calculated thing. What could I do to hurt her the most? It's like he ran through a grocery list of ways to upset her. Ultimately, these two scenes set in the pre-Breaking Bad era were some of the most heartbreaking scenes in the entirety of this universe's run. Two people who clearly still care for each other, pretending not to. The same way both were acting, putting on a show that they did not give a crap about each other. But I don't think Saul could see through Kim's disguise. She just saw through it all. He knows she can see him, but he does it anyway, because he believes that she has moved past it all. And that silence between them, and non-conversation, just makes a reunion so much worse. Kim will never forget Jimmy. The day she received that call was his birthday, as was revealed by his birth certificate when they got married. And we saw on her face that she remembered the day well, when she had to sing happy birthday, essentially to a man who was gone, as good as dead, under the guise of singing to a co-worker. If Jimmy wasn't dead already in the flashback scene with them signing the divorce papers, then he is 100% dead now. He went from specialising in elder law to threatening to strangle an elderly woman with a phone line. Jimmy is dead. He has been dead since that ball stopped bouncing in Saul's office. The pillar fell, and now death is coming for Jean. Right, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. You can always unsubscribe or a later date. If you don't like what I'm posting, it's free and cool, I don't mind. It's just really helpful. Thank you all for your support the past few weeks, it's been amazing. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a day. Bye folks.